yeah, so I'll just say again, welcome. And Jill, Jess, and I are excited to be your hosts for this little tradition that we're starting.
Mm-hmm. And then before we go too much further, we wanted to take an opportunity just to do a land acknowledgement and acknowledge that we are all Nick and Jill and myself are on the traditional territory of the Blackfoot Confederacy, Treaty 7 region, and also the home of Métis Nation Region 3.
If any folks are from other areas that they'd like to do their own land acknowledgement, please put that in the chat. One of the ways that I like to talk about land acknowledgements, especially now that we're doing things in Zoom, is that I like to just acknowledge that I am a guest in this land. I am a third generation white settler of mostly English and Welsh descent. And I always, I just acknowledge like being a guest in this land is such an honor. And right now I'm like a guest. I'm like a guest in your home. I am a guest in your home, literally. And so I just acknowledge like the gift of that and what that means in terms of the relationship and the dynamic that we have today. And I know, Nick, you were going to add to that too.
And I'm just sharing a link that was shared with me recently that I found really helpful in terms of identifying the land that you live on. So yeah, sharing that resource to learn more about the people who have taken care of the land before the time that we live here. And I find that really important at a super local level. I'd love to know a lot more about what happened even in my neighborhood. I live in the part of Calgary where the Elbow River and the Bow River come together. So I know that I don't know the full context and history, but I know that people have been gathering here for generations and generations because water provides life. And I want to express my gratitude for the people that have taken care of this land and the water, the source of life, and the land and water itself for bringing us life. Yeah, in my very, very local context down the road for me, that water. So I acknowledge the land and those who have come before. And feel free to do that yourself as well in the chat if you would like, as Kelly has. Thank you.
Amazing. So the reason that we're gathered here, it's spring equinox. We did a winter solstice sort of gathering. One of the traditions that I like to have in my own life is just acknowledging the winter and summer solstice. And as we did the activity in the winter, both Nick, Jess, and myself, we all decided we got to do this good check-in every 3 months. There's something really nice about the ritual and the ceremony. And so part of us is just for us to do some grounding in our own practices, but also to just offer something back to the community. This is a gift that we want to give the community in terms of a ritual and a grounding and a practice that we're going to continue throughout each equinox and solstice this year. So that's a little bit about why we're here. We would love to know what brings you here today. If you want to put it in the chat, maybe what you're hoping to get out of today, or how you found out about us and what you would like to learn or to practice today. You can either jump on camera or throw it in the chat.
I like that. New birth. Oh, lovely. Reconnection. That's really nice to read. Growth. Oh, yeah. Somebody got a chance to be part of the winter solstice, found it very helpful during that time, and here for brighter days. That's lovely. Enjoyed the session from last time. So here to come along for the ride for whatever we have in store. That's fun.
We might not even know what we have.
That's right. We're pretty organic over here.
That is one thing that all three of us do in terms of our facilitation. So if you haven't seen us before, we do like to just go with the flow. We have a bit of an outline. We will be good with our time boundaries. I think we're good with time boundaries, but we definitely will go where the flow takes us. And so you're part of that. If something comes up and you're like, oh, I'm really feeling this, or I'm connecting to this part of this practice, talk about it, and we want to go there. So I think all three of us are very similar in that way. Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
So as we continue on, we thought it might be a really nice opportunity just to take a moment to do just a little bit of grounding. And by grounding, I mean just taking a moment to kind of acknowledge where you are, how you feel in your body, where you're at, so that you get to be present here with all of us together, this kind of space that we share together. But also throughout this kind of ritual, this practice, this celebration or ceremony, this is also something that you can always come back to. So if you feel like you want to take a moment at any point just to like reconnect, this can be something that you can bring with you. So I'll invite you just wherever you are, you can have your eyes open, your eyes closed, in a position that feels comfortable for you. And if you would rather turn off your video for this part, you're welcome to do that as well. We're just going to take a couple minutes. So take a moment just to acknowledge your space. So whatever is around you, whatever is surrounding you, if you know where your walls are, your windows, if you have favorite things nearby, if you have living things nearby, plants, pets, friends, family, just taking a moment to acknowledge what is around you and the life that is around you. And then take a moment as well to just allow yourself to be present, to be comfortable. Notice that you're breathing. And without feeling like you need to do anything to change your breath or to make it something else, just notice how it feels. I'd invite you just to reflect on this question. What have you brought with you? What is here with you today? Where are you at? Notice if you could allow yourself to let go of anything you're holding, any tension, any work. Could you allow yourself to really feel that when you are breathing, your body is moving? So as you take an inhale, can you allow your breath to soften, to expand, without work, without effort? Can you allow your exhale to just sort of slowly drift away and kind of follow your breath? Noticing that this is just something that your body does. Notice any sounds or smells. Notice any sensations on your skin. Can you feel your connection to gravity? Can you feel this connection to whatever is beneath your feet? Connection to the earth? Connection to this moment? And taking a moment to just reflect again one more time on where you are, where you're at, what you've brought with you today. Take a soft, full breath cycle, soft inhale, soft exhale. When you're ready, you can open your eyes, come back into your space. Just notice how you feel. And then I will invite Nick to take us on a journey.
Mute myself. I feel like I did that last time. It's the phrase of 2020. You're on mute. Anyway, so thank you, Jess. I have a bit of an activity for us to go through. There's a bit of a preamble. And we talked a few times, Jill, Jess, and I, about how we wanted to approach this shift of seasons. And there's this coming season of spring and new growth and seeds, and then this place that we're leaving of maybe more winter vibes, more creative destruction. And so I want to go through like an eco cycle map, which I'll show you in a minute via Jamboard. Actually, I'll just put it in the chat now. And I will display it on the screen in a moment. I want to go through this process of just transitioning ourselves from the winter creative destructive season into new life, into the spring. But before we do that, I just want to share, I've been doing some reading of Matsunobu Fukuoka, who is a natural farmer, a Japanese natural farmer, and talks a lot about doing as little work as possible. So in his mind, natural farming means no work, which is maybe an oversimplification, but and really it's about leveraging the natural cycles and the natural ecosystem factors rather than creating unnecessary work. And so I was thinking about that as I'm listening to Fukuoka and it's not just growing techniques, it's a philosophy. I'm thinking, how does this apply to human life and to our own internal system of just being a human? And in the more recent days, we have a yard that was covered in snow, and I've seen the snow dissipate. And it's revealed this like mucky, muddy, kind of like a little bit gross looking. I mean, it looks beautiful in a way. I see it as beautiful, but it looks, it's a bit messy. Lots of leaf mulch, the plants from the previous year that are laid on the ground and they're decaying, breaking down. For me, there's actually almost a little bit of a temptation to clean it up, to like remove everything and to make it more orderly so that it looks cleaner. But I also know there are bugs, you know, hiding in, and they're providing a habitat. This space is providing a habitat. So there's lots of good stuff that's in there that if I disrupted it, I'd actually be creating more work for us and for our garden in the future. So I was really reflecting on these pieces of doing no work and of the fact that what looks like kind of a gross end of winter floor of the garden is actually providing a lot of space for all of that decomposition is providing rich space for life. So with that in mind, you can click on that Jamboard link and this will take you directly to this. Oh, there are people here. I love how they're anonymous blobfish and other cute things. So focusing on, I mean, there are other questions for other seasons, but really focusing right now on this dynamic of moving from this creative destruction to the spring germination stage. And I put this circle in the center to just really to make a note, this is kind of where we're at. We're really in that space of in between and actually shifting. And so I don't know if people have used Jamboard before, but if you've clicked on the link, then that's like half the tutorial done. And you can see my screen. If you're on the Jamboard, maybe you're looking at that, but if you're on Zoom, you can see this. You can't interact with it on Zoom. You actually have to go to the other screen, but I'll show you really quickly. On the left-hand side, there's a sticky note button in the very middle part of all of these utilities. If you click on the sticky note button, you can write something in it, like hi, which I will do. And then you can see this giant hi, and you can move it around the screen. You can spin it around, which is sometimes fun, and move it wherever you want it to land. So that's what we'll use to just take down some notes about responses to these questions. So to start off, like really being in the winter space of things that are decomposing that maybe we need to honor. So I'll ask that question, what's decomposing that you need to honor? And if you would like to, just click on the sticky note button and type in your own response and kind of move it to that corner-ish. We'll make space to have people's responses land in there. And you may be trying to do that on Zoom, the Zoom screen. This happens sometimes. And so you just would need to click over to your browser. Oops. Is that working for everyone? Oh yeah, there's some things here. And then if for any reason, if you can't get the get that working, you feel free to throw those items in the chat as well, and we can add them. Oops. Hmm. As you write things down in the sticky notes here, it's beautiful. Just going to throw out some other questions that you can either consider or you can add additional sticky notes. We can fill this thing. So you think about what's decomposing. What is it making possible for you? What is that decomposition making space for or making possible? Another question, when I think about the garden that I want to clean up, what are you eager to clean up in yourself? And what might it be like to be with that instead? What are you reconnecting with? And then lots of people have, in the spirit of reconnecting and in germination and birthing, I can feel that some people have already moved, because I can see all these beautiful things showing up in the seeds that you're cultivating. So if you haven't moved there, if you haven't entered something there, feel free to shift your attention to that side and just respond to what seeds are you cultivating? Oh, there's chats. Oh, are you doing that, Jill? Thank you. I'll add one more question in this space. What new life is breaking forth? Almost imagining the things that come up early in spring, this like first signs of green that just like crack the surface of the earth, and you can spot them across the garden because it's brown and then there's this bright green. What new life is bursting forth like that? There's so much on here. So much on here from this small community today. So I just wanted to take a second to ask, what are you noticing as you're expressing what's happening for you, but you're also seeing this beautiful community respond to, you know, what's decomposing that needs to be honored, and then the new life that's bursting forth. So what is that like, either in the chat or feel free to unmute yourself and share what it's like to see this.
I'm noticing for myself that there's a lot of words that people have put up that have sort of, something starts to sing a little bit in myself and resonates, like, oh yeah, I'm feeling that, I want to let go of that too, or that's a beautiful word for something that maybe I couldn't articulate. So just in this little space with people, thank you to those of you that have been really vulnerable and putting some of this stuff out, because you're naming stuff for myself.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that resonates for me as well. Seeing this like beautiful authenticity, there's a resonance for myself as well. How about others? What's happening for you as you write down your own or share with others? Not alone with some experiences, communal healing, lots of overlap, not the only one dealing with challenges facing me. Intentional and nice to have reflection. Sharing feels vulnerable yet safe. Yeah. Yeah, thank you so much for what you shared. And this board is, you have the link, so you can come back to it. But I am going to pass this over to Jill for now.
This was really lovely, and it was nice to type in other people's as well as my own in there. It was really a nice practice, and I almost, Nick, we got to take a screenshot of that. It's a really beautiful image. So, you know, when we were talking about preparing for this, the idea of equinox is that the sun and darkness, so light and dark, is even at this time. So 12 hours of daylight and 12 hours of darkness, which is a pretty amazing thing. It's probably not exact depending on where we are in the world, but just that idea that like things are equal and it's both ends. And so what came up for me in that reflection is thinking about dialectical behavior therapy. So dialectical behavior therapy, also known as DBT, is an offshoot of cognitive behavior therapy, CBT. And you know, what I like about DBT, because cognitive behavior therapy is this idea that we can change our thoughts. We can challenge our thoughts and change our thoughts, which is lovely in some ways, but a very prefrontal cortex, very much a thinking thing. And we actually need to have a very holistic experience. And what I like about DBT is dialectical, meaning in opposition of each other, and this idea of both and. And I like this because this is what equinox is to me. It's both dark and light outside. It's both heavy and hopeful. And even where we are at in the pandemic, it feels like this mix of both. And so we're a year into this. We recognize part of this practice today is equinox, but it's also this year, I was going to say celebration, year anniversary of a pandemic. that we've all been in and had such different experiences with. And so we're both still in it, and it's feeling hopeful, like there's an ending in a different way than a year ago, right? So it's these both end. And you know, when you look at this image, we're feeling both the grief and burnout and pain and the shedding and trauma responses and strength and space and connection and play and healing and hope. And so it's this tension of both end. And so we're going to do two practices right now just to dig a little bit deeper into what Nick set us up for. If you were with us in the winter solstice, part of what we did was a burning ceremony. If you know me, I like to burn things. It's one of my rituals and practices that helps me let go of things. So what we're going to do is we're going to spend some time. So just writing on a piece of paper, if you have paper, I want you to do it on paper because we're going to burn it or rip it up. But the idea is digging a little bit deeper into that, you know, that creative destruction side. What are we decomposing? What are the things we want to let go of? You know, maybe we did this practice in the winter. It's been about 3 months and we get this opportunity to do it again. And then when we're done writing this letter, you're going to either burn it, and then I want you to put the ashes in your garden bed or in a plant pot in your house, or you can rip it up into tiny pieces and again plant it in a garden bed in your area, depending on if you can get to it, depending on you know, frozenness and snow and whatnot, or again in a plant pot in your house. So that's the first part of the practice that we're going to do right now. So if everybody can turn off your cameras, we always tell people to bring a candle, so this might be the time to light the candle and just spend some time. We'll give you a few moments. How many minutes do you think, Jess and Nick? Maybe just
like 5.
We'll do a soft 5, right? So take some time. Again, the time boundaries are there for you to not like sit in it too much, but look at this image that we did collectively, and what are the things that you want to let go of, decompose, and intentionally plant into the garden. So I'll give you that time now to do that. I'm just going to step away from my camera to go burn things into my garden. Not burn my garden, but yes. So take this time now, make sure you do this step, right? Sometimes we put things off like, oh, I'll get to it later, but take this time and do this really intentionally, even if it's just point form, something intentional about this practice, okay? Does anybody need another minute? I'm terrible. I didn't really look at the time. Let's see. Poor time management. Good for time? Okay. How did that feel? I'm curious. You can either jump on, use your voice, or in the chat. How did that practice feel? And if you're doing it for the second time as part of this ritual, maybe tell us how that felt.
Yeah, Jill, I noticed interestingly that I wrote down two things that they themselves seemed like opposing, and they're both things that I'm letting go of. So I just noticed that based on what you talked about with DBT. And yeah, like just to share what it was, that there's like a lounging stillness to winter that I'm kind of like letting go of, and also a working too hard. Yeah, both things I was letting go of, but seemed like opposites. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Nick. And thanks, Shauna, for sharing that you cried and that emotion came up. I noticed emotion came up for me as well. Sam said it felt freeing, cathartic. Yeah, the idea of planting it. I noticed as I was doing it, some kind of got caught in the wind and went. I was like, oh, I wonder if these will end up in like a nest somewhere. And How cool could that be? Felt cleansing, good to reflect on what you're shedding and what you want to allow and cultivate. Beautiful. Yeah. And also, if you haven't responded, or if there's part of you that felt that this was also frustrating, that's okay too. This idea of both end, like it maybe felt both cathartic and freeing, and also like there's still more to do, and that's okay too. That's part of the practice. And so thinking about, I like that comment that Lisa put here, that it felt cleansing, good to reflect on what you're shedding and then what you want to allow and cultivate. There's this both ends. So we've let go, and I want us to reflect on what we want more of. And so, yeah, the idea of it decomposing in something else in the future. And so, perfect word, Sam, because we're going to write letters to our future selves. And this, again, will be just a short practice. Again, do the activity, be intentional, put this out there. I'm going to put a link in the chat. This is a website. I did test it out. So you can either do this the virtual way through this website called Future Me, or you can write a letter to yourself, seal it up, and then maybe put an alarm on your phone when to read it. But you're going to write a letter to yourself for June 13th. This is 1 week before the summer solstice. Also a reminder to register for our summer solstice activity. But it will be 1 week before to get into that reflective, just before, again, that other marker in the seasons. Or write a letter to your future self. What do you want to cultivate in the next 3 months? You know, 3 months goes really quick. It's so interesting to Jess, Nick, and I were like, wow, it's solstice, or it's equinox already. Feels like we just did solstice. Like, so it's both end, right? Time feels both really slow and quick. And so, yes, the future me, it will ask you to like verify your email. But I did test it out. You don't get any other weird emails or any other spam or anything. It just like verifies your email. And then when you set the date, it will send you the letter that you write to yourself, which is pretty fun. So take again, like that 3 to 5 minutes to write this letter to yourself. Yes, and remember, this is going to be just a week before solstice. It'll be raining here in Alberta. Just take that time.
Thanks, Jill. So if you're in the middle of processing something or you're continuing to write, by all means, continue with wherever you are at. There's no need to come out of that space if that's somewhere that you want to be right now. But we're going to do a little bit of a somatic exercise. So this is called a Soma Scan, which is mostly a body scan, but with some intention or some focus behind it. So a couple of things just to take note of before we start. If you have any space where you feel like you want to lay down, but you're more than welcome to. In fact, I encourage it because I feel like it's a space where you can do a lot less. If you want to do this seated as well, you're welcome to do that. But I encourage you, if you have a blanket or a sweater or something nearby, sometimes it can feel really good, either during or after. First of all, if you get cold, but also during or after, if you feel just the need for some touch or some hug, sometimes having a blanket that you can actually wrap around yourself to almost feel an embrace can be really comforting and quite grounding. So if you want to grab anything nearby, you're more than welcome to. And I want to actually invite you to, for just 2 to 3 minutes, we're going to come to standing, and we're going to do just a bit of a practice standing, and then we're going to come to a comfortable spot. So you can stand in the space wherever you are. So just take a moment. And again, if you feel like you want to turn your camera off at any point and keep this sort of just for yourself, you're welcome to do that too. But just coming to standing, take a moment to allow yourself to feel your feet connecting on the floor. If standing feels like too much right now, you can do this seated. So just notice where your feet are, and if you can feel your feet on the ground. What does your connection to the ground feel like? Does it feel like the ground has actually got you, like you are being held? Does it feel like you're standing heavier on one side of your body, so one foot is heavier than the other? Is there a sense of ease or a sense of work? And just notice, where is the center? Where is your center? Does it feel like you could sense it in your body? Does it have a shape? Does it have a path? Is it a place that feels still? Is it a place that is moving? Is it something that is clear in your mind? Is there a sense of work around the center, like you're holding on to it? Or does it feel sort of nebulous? Does it feel like it moves around in your body? And just notice, are you holding on to that space? Is that a place that you're holding on to? Or does it feel like something you can come in and out of, a place you could move through? Does it feel like you move around the center? Does it feel like there is space around the center? And be curious, do you have a narrative around the center? Does it feel like there's something very specific that you're paying attention to? Notice what you feel. And then when you're ready, you can come to seated, you can come to standing, or sorry, come to laying down. We're going to come back to standing towards the very end. So go where you feel comfortable. Have a pillow or a blanket nearby. If it feels better to turn off the lights in this moment, you can do whatever you want. And allow yourself to just rest and notice if there's any effort with you as you're coming to the floor. Is there any sense of work? And could you soften? Could you breathe? And could you allow yourself to rest? If at any point you need to adjust and make yourself more comfortable, you're not beholden to one place. Let yourself be fluid, be gentle. And take a moment to feel the weight of your bones on the floor. A sense of heaviness, a sense of structure, of firmness. Can you feel the heaviness of your bones connecting in gravity, being supported and held by the ground? And can you become aware of your center as you're laying down? Is it similar to where you were when you were standing? Did it feel a little different? Could you allow it to change if it feels like it needs to adapt or evolve as you change your position? And can you become aware of your breath without needing to change it, without needing to fix it? Notice if that narrative begins to pop up, like you need to make your breath something. Is there work or effort in breathing? Is there any sense of trying? And could you allow that to be present? And be curious if you could actually let it go, that sense of work or effort or trying. And notice, how much space do you have for your breath? If you were to soften in your belly or in your chest, in your shoulders, in your face, around your eyes, could you allow a little bit more space for your breath? Notice the heavy places of your body, the back of your pelvis, maybe your head or your shoulders. And be curious about the left side of your body. And just notice, what do you know about the left side of your body? Your left foot, your left knee, the left side of your pelvis, your left rib cage, the left side of your face, your left fingertips. Notice if there's any narrative around the left side of your body. And could you imagine breathing through the left side? Breathing into your left lung. Breathing through to your left belly. Notice if you come into any places of resistance. If there's any places that feel sticky. If there's any sensations that you feel on the left side of your body. And maybe using your breath, you can explore that a little bit, noticing if you can just soften it, breathe through it. And it doesn't matter. Maybe that wants to stay, that stickiness wants to be there. Could you be curious about it? And then shift your awareness from the left side of your body to your right side. Are there differences between the left side and the right side of your body? Differences in weight? Maybe different things, different parts of your body feel like they're a different size or they're in a different place. What comes to your mind? Do you have narrative around the right side of your body? Could you find your right foot, your right knee, the right side of your pelvis, the right side of your rib cage, your right belly, right chest, right shoulder, right fingertips, the right side of your face, your right eye? Just notice how the right side feels. What do you notice about your right side? How much do you know about your right side? And could you imagine breathing into your right lung? Notice if it feels different than your left side. Not better, not worse, just different. Be curious about how your breath moves, if it feels like your brain wants to explore certain places on your right side. If you feel any points of resistance or stickiness or places that feel like a bit of a mystery, without feeling like you need to fix it or do anything, could you just be curious? Maybe give it a name or a shape. And just taking a sort of a back step and looking at the whole of your right side. Notice how it feels. Could you bring the left side and the right side of your body together and notice where they meet? And does that feel like your center? Does it feel like a center? It might not. Could you allow both the left and the right side to be united? Notice if they talk to each other, if they feel different than they felt before. And come back to your sense of breathing. Could you do less work with your breath to allow more space? Noticing where your imagination goes, where your attention goes in your body. When you're ready, wiggle your toes, wiggle your fingers. Take a moment maybe to roll your head side to side, softening in your neck. Take a soft inhale and a soft exhale. And if this is a place where you want to stay on the floor, by all means, you're welcome to be here. If you want to grab your blanket, you can wrap yourself up, but slowly take all the time you need to come to standing. There's no rush. Be mindful to keep breathing, noticing if you build work or tension as you come to standing. And then just take a moment as you're standing to come back to the feet, your feet on the floor, noticing the connection between your feet and the ground, noticing the left foot and the right foot, and if anything feels a little different. And could you gently shift your weight to the left side of your body and just feel your left foot heavy on the floor. And could you come through the middle, through a balance point, and allow your right foot to become a little heavier? Just go back and forth, being really gentle and soft, feeling the weight shift and coming through the center, through the middle, noticing how your left side and your right side communicate to bring you through the middle to one side, back through the middle to the other. And could you just allow yourself to slowly, feeling like a pendulum, decrease your movement, decrease your momentum, and find a place that feels like the center. Knowing that the center is not a place that you have to stay, but always a place that you can come back to, a place that you are meant to move through. That softness in your body, softness in yourself, allows you to come through the center when you need to. And then whenever you're ready, you can come back to your screen, noticing how you feel. Take a breath or a pause just to reflect on what's there, what you've brought with you, what has come with you from that practice. And then when you're ready and back in this place, I welcome you back. I'm going to invite Nick to do a little bit of integration and reflection for us.
Thanks, Jess. I always love when the blankets come out. It has a very cozy community feel. We've been a few different places tonight. And working with one side, another side, finding center. And we've also explored like shitty things that we want to compost, burn, let go of. But what's lovely about that is those things that we let go of get to be turned into resources for new life. This, as Jess was leading the practice, this permaculture phrase came into my mind that waste is an unused resource. Waste is an unused resource. So the idea that the stuff that we're letting go of actually might be the resource that we need for new life to be birthed during this season. That's the thought I will leave you with for further reflection. We gave you a lot. And so maybe now you have homework too. You have to write a letter to yourself. You have to register for next time. Yeah, there's lots of things that you get to do now. Take this in whatever direction would be meaningful for you. And as always, we just thank you for being here, being present.
Maybe as an active closing, can we ask everybody to share just like one word that they're taking away? Or
yes. Yeah. If you're back at your computer,
yes,
yeah, we'll share one word that you're walking away with.
or leaving with, yeah.
Yes, leaving with. Thank you. Yeah.
Thanks for coming. Rebalance. Balance.
Balance. Mm-hmm. Totally feel that.
Yeah, I liked that center growing. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Thanks, folks. I'm going to stop the recording now.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. OMG, new path to integration. I want that one to be read on the recording. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, thank you, everybody.
Mhm.
Fast, both the last 3 months and this practice.
Mhm.